Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bart Winkler. Welcome into the Winklerverse alongside Grant Bilse. And scheduled to appear is Paul Imig. We're doing and we do expect him in a little bit. But first, it is a pleasure to see Grant. I've seen Grant on the internet for several days with the backdrop of Radio Row behind him. Was this your second trip to the big game? How did it go?
This is my second. I told some people it was my third. Don't know why. It was a small lie I felt I could get away with.
But that's a big difference.
For whatever reason it is.
Bitch.
For whatever reason it is a big difference. It was cool. New Orleans was very cool. A week down there is a week anywhere is a long time. 7 full days. Coming back, it felt very weird. It's 20 degrees. I'm like, what do you mean? What the fuck? What do you mean it's 20 degrees? No, Grant, this is where you live. But going anywhere for a full week is weird. But I ate a ton. Oh my God, I ate a ton. And I smelled the roses of life, tried to connect with lots of sports people and just do the thing. It was a blast.
I saw a lot of people do the same thing they did last year, where it was in Las Vegas, where then out of the Super Bowl, they go, Super Bowl should be here every year.
Yeah.
But we can't have it you can only have it in one place per.
It is kind of weird. I didn't realize it had been like 10 plus years since it had been in New Orleans. And that does seem a little silly. You're correct. Everyone does. It should be here every year. I don't gather that most people like when it's in San Francisco, which makes sense because everything's super far away and there's traffic and West Coast time sucks. Because forget a morning show, if you're even a midday show, everything's, 2 hours earlier. So it's just a pain.
West Coast likes the one shot I have to go out there. It'd be 7 to 11. That'd be great for my show.
Yeah, that would work great for you. That would be excellent. I was jealous of some of the afternoon drive shows that were there because if, I have producer responsibilities, that was my main job out there was producing Bill. But if I didn't have to do that, there were these, big time afternoon hosts who waltz into this place at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. They can go out. So I was a little jealous of that, but get to spend long days in Radio Row, see all the people and talk to all the people. It was very fun. It's cool.
It's going to be in Santa Clara next year, like you mentioned, and that's an hour away from San Fran. Then it's going to be back in California again at SoFi.
Yep.
And then Atlanta's got 2028. Do you think they're done like, well, let's just give it a try in the Twin Cities?
They should be done.
Let's give it a try in New York and Indianapolis and Detroit.
Now as a member of the media, I will make this about me. No one wants to go there. And I love the Twin Cities. That is my home. That is my hub. My big city hub growing up was Minneapolis, St. Paul. But are you fucking kidding me? Imagine you do talk radio in New York, Boston, somewhere cold. You're grinding all year. And this is your reward. This is your week where you get to go heck off with your coworkers, get into some trouble, chase superstars around, and you're staying in Woodbury. You gotta go to St. Paul. Like, no one wants to do that. And no one wants to do New York either. Although I don't know, do it someplace warm. Do it someplace where people can party and celebrate. That's what it's supposed to be.
Man, I can't believe you've been there 3 times now.
Next year, should I say 5? Should I just keep going up?
My 6th year.
I think I told you this. I also told people there were 2 people that I introduced myself to who I knew had Minneapolis St. Paul ties. And maybe this is dirty pool, but I told them both, yeah, my wife's from the Twin Cities. It's not my wife. We're not married. But for whatever reason, that felt like there was more oomph behind it. Just like 3 felt a lot better than 2 coming out of the
instead of girlfriend?
Yeah, instead of girlfriend. Just say.
Well, you're right.
It died, right?
My girlfriend's from there.
Yeah, who cares?
Is my second time here.
Yeah, like get the fuck away from me.
It's like, okay, tell me when your pubes come in, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So Jesus. I don't know.
How was the you were there? I know a lot of Packer people were trying to deal with the quote unquote fallout of Josh Jacobs saying we need a number 1 receiver, which led to, I don't know. I mean, a fight between John Kuhn and Andy Herman.
I didn't see. Well, I saw they were fighting. I didn't read any further. And God bless Andy. I podcast with him. I really like him, but he's verified, which means you can just type an unlimited amount. And on Twitter,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to read all that.
Well, and Coon's always mixing it up, and at some point, like with me, getting in all these fights.
Yep.
At some point, I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like Twitter's been but it's the sports section of Wisconsin sports has been a calmer place since I only go on when I want to verbally assault Doug Gottlieb for his 20th straight loss.
He was on Radio Row.
He was, and I shit all over him. And now he's invited me to a game this weekend.
You should go.
That's so far away.
You should tell him I don't want to go to Green Bay, dude.
I might stop at the Milwaukee game and be like, saw a winner instead. I might do that. Because I was assaulting Gottlieb and they sent me a message saying, hey, sorry you couldn't be at Radio Row. We got games Friday and Sunday. I'll leave you a ticket.
Did you reply to him?
No, but it's on red, so he knows I saw it.
Well, shouldn't you?
Or I could just not do anything.
Well,
or I could just go on living my life.
I mean, you're not a UW Green Bay fan. Who cares?
No, I'm a fan of all of our teams, Grant. And by that I mean in the state.
I'm tapped from the lakefront to the riverfront. I'm tapped into the WEAC. Huge game tomorrow night. Eau Claire is hosting Platteville. Eau Claire's been hot of late. Platteville's the number one team in the WEAC, but many believe that they're overrated, and this might be the portion of their schedule they come back down to earth. Conveniently, UW La Crosse is number 2 in the standings, so Platteville's loss would be our Eagles' gain. I would look forward to that. So
there's no highway rivalry to this. Is this a 35?
What Platteville's actually, I guess, closest to La Crosse, right?
So is that a 12 or 16 jaunt? Isn't Platteville down in the corner?
Don't tempt me with a chance to look up how 2 cities are connected on Google Maps. I am all over it. Also, I think
Platteville's down in the corner. You'd have to go up DeSoto way.
Yeah.
Prairie du Chien, or am I thinking of Prairie du Chien?
No, I mean, you'd both. You'd probably go through. Actually, this is I typed in directions and it gave me walking 74 hours. Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I was looking for. Google Maps. Actually, it looks like.
Oh yeah, you can get over. You gotta get over to 35.
Yeah, you could do 35 up, but then it looks like the best move is 27.
You'd have to go through Lancaster, where I've shot many a football game. I think they were D5.
God.
Lancaster, that's my favorite. That was my favorite part about Friday nights when I would shoot high school games. They'd be like, all right, Bart, you're in Lancaster. Do you need directions? No, I'll just follow the signs and then I'll see where the lights are.
Yep. There's nothing blocking it. There's no downtown district of tall buildings in Lancaster to block the Friday night lights. It's not a thing that exists.
Go there. Although I did try that with Lamira, and Lamira's is deeper in town. So that one kind of messed me up a little bit. The high school's a little deeper in town.
Interesting.
Than I wanted there.
Well,
but were people, so what I brought that up for were people like, was it that much of a panic that Josh Jacobs said we need a number 1 receiver, or was that like a hyper online thing?
I think it was more of a big deal online than it was in person on Radio Row. You know,
yeah. Well, that's what I'm asking.
I no. Well, if John Kuhn and Andy Herman were fighting, yeah, then it was a bigger deal online than it was in person, because we all saw it. And it's like, that's interesting. It's good fodder, but that's about it.
Because a lot of people have been saying the Packers don't need a number 1 receiver, and then Josh Jacobs says they do. But I think we got to the point as a Packer fan that we didn't think we needed one, and then now we think we do. But now we're in a weird spot where the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and we're like, oh, we only lost by 12.
Yeah.
Like somehow the Chiefs ended up losing by 18, and the dynasty is over, and they're never going to be good again. But the Packers lost by 12 in the wild card round, and we're close, dude. We can feel it.
I feel
how close
further
we are.
away from the Eagles now than after that game because the Eagles led Patrick Mahomes by 35 points, and their quarterback and coach are not believed by most to be all that great. Like, do you know how much that means about the rest of the roster? So, like, the Packers' strengths, well, they're great at O-line, they got a great running back. Philly's better at both. And also their wide receivers are much better, and their corners are much better, and their defensive line is much better. Well, we love Jeff Halfley. Well, they have fucking Vic Fangio. So, like, the Packers have a lot of things going for them. Almost all of those things are better in Philly. And also, this is the content thing that I'm tapping into today. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Jordan Love? I don't know how you could look at their resumes up until this point and say Jordan Love. Maybe if you just like him more and you're a Packers fan, okay, fine. But Jalen Hurts could very easily have 2 Super Bowl rings today. If they had just won that game against the Chiefs 2 years ago, kind of felt like a coin flip. He could have 2. Is Jordan Love ever going to go to a Super? Do you think Jordan Love, if you had to bet right now, ever goes to a Super Bowl, let alone 2, let alone wins 1 or maybe 2? Because that's what we're staring in the face right now. I'm sorry to be that guy, but that's just how it works.
I'm laughing because I think we all know what my answer is.
And I
I think it's a lot of our answer.
I'll just say, I'm just asking the question. I won't make you or anybody else answer. Maybe Paul, maybe that's his first if he ever joins. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, in the meantime, I do want to remind people that we are brought to you by Happy Place Hemp. The promo code is BART for 25% off every order that you get at happyplacehemp.com. Happyplacehemp.com, promo code BART. You put it in at the checkout. It's a very well-structured spot to when normally you put your discounts in at the end. I told you about my story with Ticketmaster where you have to put it in at the beginning. Otherwise, you're paying $200 so your 5-year-old kid can go see The Bloodline because you thought you were going to get a buy one, get one deal at the end. No siree. Happyplacehemp.com for the gummies and the tinctures and the pet treats. You can get them for them as well. Seltzers are a big hit. That industry booming. So get in on the ground floor and get your discount. Happyplacehemp.com, 25% off.
When you mentioned Bloodline, is that a wrestling thing?
Yeah, it's Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and Jimmy.
So there were a lot of wrestling people on Radio Row. The Khans pulled their yacht right up to the dock. New Orleans is, by the way, I'm glad we can do this before Paul gets here, if he ever gets here. New Orleans is very similar to La Crosse. Now, it's way bigger, and there's Southern cultural aspects that are obviously, but a lot of things feel very similar.
La Crosse is Buzzard Billy's.
Correct. So, Cajun food, that's a wash. But like the river, the factories, there are some people who would come into La Crosse and say, ooh, it's dirty. And us, we know the soul of the city. We know that it's industry, right? Because it's a river town. New Orleans, the same. And I can send you a picture. There's 2 blue bridges that go right across the son of a bastard, right in downtown. And then where the media party was, there was the big patio right next to the river. And the Khans pulled their, this thing was huge. And Nick Khan, the son, I'm told.
Tony Khan is the son.
Tony Khan.
No.
Shad Khan.
Nick Khan is unrelated who works for WWE.
Well, you could see how this is a bit confusing.
Shad Khan owns the Jaguars.
And his son is who?
Tony runs AEW.
Tony Khan. Yeah, that guy with curly
hair. He's always like skittishy.
So he was everywhere. Very short, by the way, not a commanding physical presence, but you could tell he's wealthy. It just oozed off of him. And there were wrestlers everywhere. There were WWE people there. For example, Nikki Garcia. What's her wrestler name? Nikki
Garcia.
She's got the twin, right?
Nikki Bella.
Nikki Bella. She was there. And a lot of people wanted to
just started going as Nikki Garcia. No one's ever called her that.
Okay. Well, I don't know any of this, so don't talk down to me. But I wanted to talk to her. I said, Nikki, over the rope. She was in the Sirius XM. Where does Sirius XM get off? Like, they're above it. Their set is huge. It's like, okay. Sirius XM has called me 30 times in the last month trying to get me to re-up. Like, don't put yourself above, whatever. You can't go across her. I said, Nikki, I said, we miss you on Traders. She was just voted out like 2 weeks ago. She was a great faithful. I felt bad. And I felt like she had to appreciate that. It's like someone who recognized my out of the ring game, her reality TV game, which I thought was pretty cool. They voted her out.
She's back in WWE. She's the ex-wife of John Cena, who's also back in WWE.
Interesting. I didn't know she was married to Cena. Is she married again now?
I don't know. She might be with another guy. Her twin sister Bree is married to, well, now Bryan Danielson of AEW.
Of course. And that's run by Nick Khan, who's not related to Shad or
Hey, I
Tony.
got a question. Why does every celebrity just get to be at the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Last day.
How's that just a thing that you get? Like, if you're a celebrity, like Bert Kreischer's hanging out with Jameis Winston.
So we were told by a Packers person that the NFL has mandated to all of these stadiums. Maybe this was exaggerated. I don't know. But the Packers had a presence there because they're promoting the draft. And they said the NFL has mandated or suggested in very strong terms that you must keep a suite open at all of your games for influencers who might want to come enjoy the game and post content for free. Interesting. That's all. So along the same lines, the same tree that you're barking up here. They're all promoting something. That's why they're there. They're all promoting the Workaholics guys were there. You think they were there because everyone wants to talk about Workaholics in 2025? No, they're C-list celebrities and they're promoting something and they're trying to make money. I like Workaholics, but like after a couple of episodes, you kind of done the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many seasons they made, but
A lot.
I feel like 5 episodes in, you're like, I'm good. I got it. There's an appeal, but we didn't need a lot of seasons.
So how far away am I from being an influencer?
I don't know.
Because I'm really upset. I'm really upset that it feels like every take I've had in the last 2 years has then been a Bill Simmons take 5 days later. And I'm not saying that he's copying me. Come on, I'm not that foolish. But what I'm saying is there is a part of my brain that other people have, that I think I've gotten there first on a lot of things. And but I also could self promote better. Like I should have been throwing videos out for 2 weeks that the Eagles are going to win by 19 points. They're going to win by 19 points.
You had Eagles minus 19. That's right. Well, you
I
have
had Eagles minus 19, and I had the numbers, and then that bullshit touchdown.
you have 15,000 followers on Twitter. That would be a place I'd probably wield that a little bit more if I were you.
The Twitter thing.
I mean, I got 5,000 and I'm swinging that like it's my last shred of relevancy. Like if
You're
that
the
goes
5K?
down. 5.2.
Oh, you've been moving.
Not really. I mean, God, it's a slow climb. What I wouldn't do for just a big viral. Can I get a couple hundred at once? That's what I'm looking for.
The Twitter thing, because I've been so involved in Twitter. I once won a WBA award for my social media presence, and they didn't even put my name on the award. They put at Winks Thinks. They engraved at Winks Thinks on a plaque instead of Bart Winkler. So I just feel like when I'm on, and this is apropos of, well, can I say anything other there than nothing? This has nothing to do with the Twitter ownership. This has nothing to do with anything political. I've always felt on Twitter, when I engage there, like if I put up some bullshit on Facebook and people are mad at me, it's like knocking a gnat away. Or if somebody's on Blue Sky, it's like, flick them away. Or even if someone calls in, if I'm using social media in any way and there's some sort of confrontation, it's like, but on Twitter, I feel like we're in the middle of a gladiator ring and I'm at war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken a toll on me where I can't like fight the way I used to, because there's nothing worse than throwing out a tweet that is going to rile some shit up and then being away from your phone for 10 minutes and then going back to see, what have I done?
Yep.
What have I done now? Who did I piss off now? What fan base did I piss off now? So it's not. I'm not. It's just. It's too much. So yeah, I have my biggest following there, but Paul Imig's here. I'm bitching that nobody gave me the credit that I feel I deserve for calling an Eagles blowout. But also the two things I've been the most confident on in my life, Eagles blowout and Bucks down 0-2, I made $0 from some fucking how.
Gotta learn how to find a way to make money on this.
See, the person who I thought said the thing about the Eagles blowout was Bill Simmons.
Yes. We just
For those who follow closely, Bill and Bart have.
Oh, I literally just talked about it.
Did you? Okay, this is great.
Yeah. He gets to where I get. I just get there sooner. He'll get there on his own.
I mean, I'm not going to ask, do you think he steals your takes? But
No.
do you think he knows that you exist?
Well, he does know that I exist in the form of my old blog. I wrote a post that he should be the Bucks GM, and he linked to it on the sports page.
Wow.
So he knows that I exist in the very most minor level of detail, as if like I know the lady who was trying to walk next to me at Anytime Fitness last night was doing it while reading a newspaper.
Wow. Like walking on a track.
On the treadmill next to me, reading a newspaper, which is already weird. But then she was reading a newspaper. And it would have been fine if she was reading it out loud. It would have been fine if she was like, it would have been fine if like, and in this latest news story, this thing happened. But she was whispering it. So she was like, in this latest. So it's like you can barely hear it, but it's a whisper is worse than a talk.
Total, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Worse than a talk. Yeah.
Just because Grant's making a face. It's because like you're like it's more like you're more drawn to it because like what?
Say it.
What is happening? How old is this person?
Oh, she was at least 65.
Like I would be very nervous reading something that large and like on a treadmill because you can, even if you're going like slow, if you step off awkwardly, you're in trouble.
I'm ready to get to that point though. I don't want to age. I don't want to die, but I'm ready to get to the point where I treat the world as if it doesn't fucking exist. Like, yes, I'm going to go to a treadmill and read a newspaper and whisper the stories and no one will stop me. And if they do, it's their fault for having a problem with it.
My biggest, and I mean this, and like my biggest issue that I think about when it comes to like the human beings is like the idea that there aren't other people around you and how people could have such little idea.
I was staring at her. I was trying to get her to like know that I was pissed. Nothing.
See, but your assumption is that this 65-year-old person wasn't like this in her 30s, her 20s, her 40s. I think she was. My observations of the human race would tell me that she's always been like this and that she, like most people, are just oblivious to how her actions.
Look at standing there on the treadmill reading her newspaper.
Is that her purse hanging on the side of it too?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, like this, I want to just do this. Like, we just need like a therapy session of like, why do people think that there aren't people around them? Or that if you know there's people around you, which presumably this person and others do, that it's okay to do things like if you stick to yourself, you're not impacting people, right? Like, but if you're doing anything else, you have the possibility. And why does that not enter into your frame of consciousness to do the thing you're doing? Like, Bart, you say you want to get to the age where you can do that. You'll never get to the age where you can do that because you have.
Well, I was trying to drive then the other day, and some old guy's crossing the street. He's crossing the street, and he's slow and old, but everyone's got to stop for him.
That one feels slightly different.
You will never get to that age. You will do what you want, but then you'll feel bad about it. That's the part that you will never. You'll never shake that.
Grant, see, that's where we 100% agree. Like, you won't get to that point because you're not like that now. My read on the situation is that this woman, like so many people, has always been oblivious to how their thing impacts those around them. Their loud talking, their whispering while reading a newspaper, their whatever it is, there's never been a consciousness in my observations of humans, to be like, oh, like there's other people. Like, what the fuck?
If you had even odds that I would die at 45, 55, 65, 75, or 85, where would you put your money?
And you get like an over under, you get like a plus minus of like 2 or
They're all 10 to 1 odds.
Can I go over?
Over 85?
Am I penalized for going over? Like if
right. So like if we say 65, do we get 67?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And your parents are both alive at what age? Late 60s?
Mid 60s.
This matters. Don't laugh at me.
No, I'm laughing because Paul, you're
Mid-60s.
probably like 2 career choices away, knowing you and your brain. You're probably like 2 career choices away from being an actuary. So you're probably about to this is
you're
about to
not
go to a
wrong.
dark place. Like you're actually going to predict when Bart's going to die. And I go ahead. I'll allow you, please.
So I'm sorry. How old are they, Bart?
Mid 60s, upper 60s.
And your grandparents made it to approximately what?
84. One's alive at 85. One died at 80. One died at 76. One died at 50 something.
Oh, geez. Okay, you were on a good streak there. I'm gonna take. If I could have 72 and a half, if I could have 71 and a half, I'd take the over. If I could have 72 and a half, I'm contemplating the under.
It's a good answer.
So I'm on the back 9.
Yeah. Well,
How-
yeah. You're at the beginning of the back 9.
I feel like I'm either going to be dead at 45 or I'm going to live till like I'm 105. In the last 20 years of my life, I'm going to be like, someone just fucking end my life, sir. That's where I feel.
I do think once you're retired, I do think you're still going to be aware and conscious of those around you, but you are going to be the crankiest bastard in public. Like
I'll never go in public.
Well, or that's true too. Maybe you just won't go in public.
When I retired, I'm gonna just sit in my living room in my chair.
But I mean, I know you. You're gonna go to the grocery store and you're gonna make a thing of going, like you're gonna like really like talk up going to the grocery store. You're gonna get hyped for the grocery store.
You are both a sociopath and an empath. You behave like a sociopath, but you feel things like an empath, which is the reason you're such a tortured soul all the time, is you talk to people, especially online, like you don't care about people's feelings, but you do. So then you talk shit and then you sit by yourself and wonder, why did I do that? And then
Grant is not relating to this about himself at all.
I'm trying to be better at that. I'm tweeting less. I'm trying to quality over quantity. I'm trying.
I thought your tweets were very good at Super Bowl.
You know what Bukowski told me? He said, I both like you in real life and your Twitter. I like you both in the online and the offline realm now that I've experienced both. He's like, I didn't really care for either until I was able to combine them, and now I get it, and I like you more. And I thought,
wow, that's interesting.
I don't really know what that means, but I think it's an interesting lesson.
I think national radio Bart, I think local radio Bart was similar, but I bet people think you're just a super carefree, like, right? Like you give a very good, like approachable vibe. Do you think you are? Do you think that matches you, Bart?
Like in real life?
Do you think you come across as very approachable in your public
forum?
I do not.
I would not describe him that way. No.
You don't
like,
think
if am I in public, if I enter a room, I'm not like,
hold on.
The room doesn't stop. I'm not one of those guys.
Do you think your national radio listeners think you are very approachable? Do you think
yes, I bet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think they feel like they can call me and not get. And then even if I make fun of them, it's over their heads.
Or they laugh about it.
That's more a listener thing than a you thing. Although I think you do a very good job with it. That's a skill.
Yeah. I think it's easy for why are we doing that? Were we recording this? This is very weird.
So 72?
What? I'm going with 72.
All right. You got any questions for us?
You guys want to do Bucks or Packers, or do you want to do life expectancy?
Can we start with, is it one or the other?
No.
Can we start with Packers?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm doing some Bucks on my show tonight, begrudgingly. But
let's make sure we get to it then. I think there's a few angles. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and put the cards on the table.
What I'm doing tonight is how teams should feel coming out of the playoffs.
Yep. I was going to go here, by the way.
Confident or very optimistic, slightly optimistic, worse off, or like I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, like the Bills, saw the Chiefs lose and
Yeah.
they were feeling like shit 2 weeks ago, but now they're like, okay, our path is open again.
Mhm.
Packer fans seem to think that
Oh,
we're so
hold on.
fucking close, even though.
Well, let's do that. So this was one of my topics. So it's good. After seeing the Eagles, who the Packers struggled against, be as dominant as they were in winning the Super Bowl, you are, as a Packers fan, have a lot of like what you saw from the Eagles in the games that followed the Eagles beating the Packers. You actually, as a Packers fan, leave this offseason, going into this offseason, are optimistic because of what you saw from Philly and what they did to the Chiefs and others.
Well, Grant and I were discussing a little bit of Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love.
I saw, Grant, did you tweet? You did tweet that, Bart, Grant, right? I took your poll, and I took it earlier today at the time of which when I voted for Jalen Hurts.
When you say you took, does that just mean you voted in it?
Click,
It's a
sorry,
click. You just
sorry.
made it sound very formal, which is fine. It's funny that you use that language choice.
I took your 12 question survey, and no, but yes, I clicked a button of which said Jalen Hurts. At the time, it was like 63 for Love, 37 for Hurts, and I like Jordan Love, and I'm like, I like Jalen Hurts. I don't know if I'm ready to like, he's one of the top 2 QBs in the league type of conversation, but that seems like an extremely homer 63-37, Grant. So where did that end up?
It's 60-40.
That's nuts. That's
I really don't know where to place Jalen Hurts, though.
Put it this way, if you were an Eagles fan,
back
wouldn't you
end of the top 5,
screaming into the void, wondering why people are still hesitating to put Jalen Hurts with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow? Mahomes by himself. But if I was an Eagles fan,
you're not trading. If you ask any Eagles fan, would you trade Hurts for any of those guys? They say, "Fuck no."
That's a different thing. But my point is, like, what more can Jalen Hurts do in the biggest moments?
Nothing.
And you're still excluding him from. I'm just going to say that next tier of Burrow, Lamar, Allen, or even Herbert. I bet a lot of people would have Herbert above Jalen Hurts. And if I was an Eagles fan, that would drive me nuts.
For sure. There's nothing else he can do. And I think every Eagles fan would have the right to call into a national show and say, if you're not putting him at the very, 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 very least at number 5, like, you're doing it wrong. He has to be no worse than 5. That's his floor.
Well, the same thing that like with Tom Brady, was he the greatest quarterback of all time? He was actually not, but he is because he forced you to say he is based on his success.
Yeah.
Just like Jalen Hurts, because a couple of weeks ago we were saying, Hurts isn't even the best quarterback in that game against the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring it back to your question, when we were talking prior to you jumping in, Grant had said something like, do you, with confidence, can you say that you will see Jordan Love play in the Super Bowl? And I started laughing because I don't, with confidence, absolutely not. So do I feel better that I saw the Eagles win the Super Bowl? Now, this was interesting because it was like the first time we got beat by a team, and then I didn't need their demise. I was actually rooting for them quite strongly. I just never came into that playoff game thinking we were going to win. And the fact that the Eagles really took their time before they did anything against us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you look at how this game went too, the Chiefs had plenty of opportunities. They punted a lot of 3-and-outs after the Eagles gave them the football. Even when they started the second half, it was a punt. Like, you can go watch Mahomes' 3 touchdowns on YouTube, and the score says 34-0. His last touchdown was after Sirianni got soaked with Gatorade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the most vapid 3-touchdown performance.
Vapid. Yeah, it is. It's
vapid.
It's a bullshit stat line for Mahomes.
What did you think I said? Vapid?
Where'd you hear the word vapid? Where'd that come from?
I think I said vapid last. I must have said vapid last night too.
You idiot!
I knew I was off my game last night because I kept talking about the Chiefs, but I would say Eagles. I kept saying Eagles. I would say Chiefs.
Grant, do you have any thoughts on your optimism now that you've seen the Eagles trounce?
No, I saw the collective of the internet be like, "See, we're not far away," and I think there were Packers beat reporters who were saying that. Yeah, and that was.
I don't feel any closer than we did 3 weeks ago. I don't feel any closer.
I do.
Why?
How? I would say what it crystallized for me is how good the Eagles were. They're very, very good. Now,
you have to be that good to win a Super Bowl, and we're so far away from that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So actually, my second question. So I mean, we can combine.
You think the Green Bay Packers could ever get 40% pressure on anyone with
Okay,
no
so
blitzes.
you're taking the words out of my mouth. So my combo question to it is, watching Philly have a great offensive line and a great 4-man rush has emboldened you to like be like, hey, just develop the meat guys up front, defensive line and offensive line. You want to adapt the strategy or appreciate the strategy because the Packers drafted an offensive lineman in the first round last year. Like this shaped the way you think about roster building. The way that the Eagles are so good on the upfront offensive line and defensive line has reshaped the way you think about building the Packers. Or mm-mm.
Well, we always talk about how the trenches are important, but then I feel like collectively we always drift away from that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it has
like the NFL conversation will be quarterback and running back and number one wide receiver.
T. Higgins.
Cornerbacks making a bunch of money. And then there's always like a Super Bowl that reminds you, you better have some good big uglies.
And that's why Philly was so dominant, because they have a great offensive line and a great 4-man rush. And that's it. Like Saquon was good. I mean, Saquon is good. He didn't have a particularly remarkable Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is good, but like Jalen Hurts isn't like their offensive line is so good, which makes Jalen Hurts good. Their defensive line is amazing. Like it made me think differently about, not that I ever would have like shied away from acquiring a Max Crosby or whatever, but like it's not fun. You guys have hosted plenty of shows the day after a draft. It's not fun to be like, so let me tell you about these offensive and defensive linemen, like, who most of your listeners haven't heard of.
But then the Packers, when they do get one, it's always a project. It's never like Beast from Georgia. And if it is a guy from Georgia, it's the bad one.
I was going to say, Howie Roseman has done what Brian Gutekunst has been trying to do, except he's picked
poorly. Yeah.
He's just
so it's like in baseball where the Brewers have figured out how to take a small market team and go to the World Series. It's just the other teams are doing that and using the Brewers as a jumping point.
Yeah.
They can try to like, the Brewers, but then it's always like, oh no, actually it's the Diamondbacks. They did what the Brewers did, but it was the Diamondbacks instead of the Brewers.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually not overly dissimilar to like the Kings did everything right. It's just that their best guys weren't better than other teams' best guys.
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio is going to rip, by the way.
It already is. I've gotten to see a couple of those games. It really works.
So are they going to make the playoffs?
I think they're like 11 or 12 right now. They'd have some making up to do, but depends on Golden State.
I was a little bummed I didn't get to go to Bucks Warriors last night because.
Hey, can we just at least slightly pivot to and I really enjoy like you guys don't for the most part enjoy like NBA trade chatter fodder stuff. Like you guys have talked about like Bart, I think you in particular, like I don't want to talk about like.
Well, I like the trades. I don't like trying to trade machine Chris Middleton for 7 years.
Okay.
I don't like Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton for Jericho Sims and Duncan Robinson. That doesn't move me.
Okay.
Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis moves me a lot.
So how much are you moved by this rescinded Mark Williams Dalton Connect trade? Because this to me, I could talk about this for 3 hours.
Well, it doesn't move me for 3 hours, but it moves me, I guess.
I'm only slightly being hyperbolic on the 3 hours, but like
you could talk about it.
It's fascinating. Like I love the mechanics of like the process of like they're both saying that they pursued us. No, they called me. And then like did you guys see Dalton Connect on the Lakers bench last night? Like
he looks sad.
I mean, like, dude, he's a human dude. Like I get it, right? But at the same time, it's like you're getting
these are human beings. Yeah,
I
fucking know we're all human beings. I know they're human beings.
And like the Hornets putting out that press release that said we are so excited to have Mark Williams back. If it wasn't for the Lakers aggressively pursuing him, we never would have even.
No, if it wasn't for the other team.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
They didn't even say the Lakers in there.
And now I saw a thing this morning that said there's going to be a lawsuit from the Hornets that they're going to challenge the rescinded trade. Like I'm not sure if anyone cares as much as I do, but I love it.
Why did he go through? Because his knees are jello?
Yes.
Presumably. I mean, it's not his back, apparently.
Well, you try to trade this guy who's 25 and young. I mean, he hasn't played much because he's been hurt.
You know, Mark Williams? I think he's like 23.
Yeah, young.
Yeah, 25. Yeah. What is he, Luka Doncic? I mean, come on. Never do that.
Old and fat Luka.
It is weird. Hasn't Dalton Connect been good? I'm not league passing the Lakers. I don't know.
He's been good.
Yeah, I think towards the end of his before his first run with the Lakers ended, I think he had gotten benched. I think Redick had kind of like moved him off the regular rotation, so it made trading him feasible.
Interesting.
He's arguably been their best rookie. I mean, Bronny did knock down a 3 the other day.
I knew what you were doing there.
It's the Hornets. I think if it were another team, maybe it would be getting some more buzz, but it's the Hornets.
Oh, buzz. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay. No, you didn't. Got it.
Totally.
Any other Packers thoughts about how this Eagles situation?
If you're Dalton Connect, a trade like that's got to sting.
He should be jumping for joy that he gets to stay in LA. Why would he not?
It's got to sting.
Yeah.
Grant's not really. You got to rewatch B movie. You need a little more Barry B. Benson in your life.
You like jazz?
What's more sick? Barry B. Benson having a romantic relationship with that woman, or the
blank check?
Yeah.
I knew where you were going.
I just saw that for some reason.
You just saw what?
Someone talk about it on something.
Dude, it's so creepy.
Like, can we revisit the movie Blank Check? This 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And it's a 30-year-old woman. She's like, look me up in 5 years.
I think I was served the same video and watched the same thing, which was like, and then you're probably thinking at the end, she'll give him a little kiss on the cheek. Nope, you'd be wrong. It was on the lips.
Yep. And he's going to look her up.
Yeah. Look, oh my goodness, that's really messed up.
I saw that movie in a theater.
I did too.
Yeah. Blank Check.
Sheboygan Marcus.
Oh, Blank Check. I'm going to Captain America on Thursday.
You know, those reviews, I've refreshed the Rotten Tomatoes Flickster thing like 3 times a day. I'm curious. And it's still not out. That can't be great. The reviews? Or is that a Marvel thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll talk about it another day.
Any other Packers thoughts? I want to ask you about some before we got to go.
The Sheboygan Marcus. Did you see Sheboygan was in the news last week? You didn't see?
What was it?
They just did, I don't know, like a bunch of local city planners and stuff. They did a study and it turns out it fucking sucks still. All right. Let's keep going. Bucks. Let's do the Bucks.
Well delivered.
So stupid.
So Bart, are you I know you've referenced vaguely, like it seemed like the Mavs might have made a call before calling the Lakers, and it seems like maybe that was with the Bucks and with Giannis, and like I heard you on whatever.
Gary Wolfel reported it.
So now I want to say, so now Wolfel's being aggregated because of his latest report that it was the Bucks. So before I ask my question, is this official enough that we want to say the Bucks received a Luka for Giannis offer? Like, are we going to take that as did that happen? Are we ready to truthify that? Did that happen? Are we ready to?
Let's play in the hypothetical.
You want to play in the hypothetical?
Yeah, like whatever you're going to ask, just ask him.
No, but I'm actually curious first though. Like, is it separate from the topic? I'm really just wondering. Like,
I feel like they had their sights pretty much on the Lakers.
Or do they have their sight on a player like a Giannis, like a AD, a big guy? You know, I mean, yeah, they don't.
I'm starting to go back on my. I think Giannis is going to retire here. Thoughts too.
All right. Well, so here's the question. Here's the topic.
Which I'm at the point where, que sera, sera.
I also think Gary's report said what I've heard mentioned. Well, it always gets mentioned about Giannis, but like, I think Gary's word was Giannis' future with the Bucks is murky, I think was the word that was used. But anyway, okay, so let's just say the Mavs did call the Bucks, and the Bucks said, "Wait." First off, I'm sure John Horst if it happened, was like, "Huh? Are you making other Luka calls?" But let's just say it happened, and then you come to find out that Middleton is traded for Kuzma, and Damian Lillard is whatever. Like, I don't know how you guys are feeling about the Bucks' chances this year. I'm feeling pessimistic. But if you were the Bucks GM and received, again, like take into account the age of both players, take into account Giannis's loyalty, all the factors that you would if you were actually GM of the Bucks, you get the call from the Mavs about Luka for Giannis. I think Horst presumably immediately, if it happened, like probably immediately hung up. Would you take a meeting? Would you take time? Let me ask you: you're the Bucks. You're the general manager of the Bucks.
I would sleep on it.
You would sleep on it. Mm-hmm or mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, Luka's 25.
Right. There's a significant in NBA years age difference here.
And Giannis has been injured during your playoffs. You can be like, oh, Luka gets us to the finals and can't fucking win.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, he's playing in them.
Yeah.
He's playing in the playoffs.
Giannis is 5 years older. It's a lot of if you take the idea that 28 is the athletic prime, which is what it is.
Where do you like
Tatum? Tatum hasn't hit his yet. His is
it's coming.
Still to come.
Because I think the prevailing thought is as the Bucks kind of whimper out of this Giannis title era, which it feels like.
That's what it feels like.
And I don't want that.
Well, no, but the Middleton trade is like, okay, this is over. And then
but they got under the second apron.
You like second
right,
apron.
and there's got to be another move.
Let's be clear. There clearly should have been another move. If this was because keep in mind, they also did get that Wizards 2025 second round pick. That's going to be one of the top 2 picks of the second round. You have your future, I don't know what the move is. I'm not going to whatever, but you do that trade the day before the deadline. They didn't do that one at the buzzer. It's not like Kuzma was middle. Okay, now we're out of time. You gave yourself time. I'm quite confident that John Horst had to have had another couple of things that he was ready to do as the plan B, and plan B just never happened.
So here's how I want Bucks revisionist history to go, if I may.
Revisionist history, okay?
Yes, because I feel like a lot of people say we shouldn't have fired Bud. And I still think Bud had the built-in excuse of injuries. Like, when the Packers are injured, we're not like, okay, fire LaFleur. But when the Bucks were injured, we're like, fire Bud. Maybe they give him a longer leash. But he was kind of like the thing I used to say about, oh, he'll make adjustments in game 8. Like, it took him a while to figure shit out.
Totally. Not similar from LaFleur, but okay, go ahead.
Trading Drew for Damian Lillard, I still think if you have an opportunity to try that, you try that.
Agree.
Because Drew was Bledsoeing himself in the playoffs.
Agree.
And there's the problem that he ended up going to Boston and then they won.
Agree.
As their 4th best guy. So
Maybe.
That makes it worse. But I don't like the problem that doesn't get enough talked about.
Consideration?
Jesus. The problem that I've noticed on my show, like the gaps are getting longer. I'm fucking struggling for words sometimes. Where it's to the point where like Carlos checks if I'm connected.
Dead air.
John Horst drafting has been utter dog shit.
Oh.
And the stacking up of second round picks to trade for Serge Ibaka type guys is malpractice.
Yeah.
The problem with the Bucks isn't you fired Bud, you hired Griffin, you traded Drew. It's that you have this team you have, Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez, because you've wasted all your tools to replace them.
Yeah.
With younger, better talent. And the whole trading, who they trade? So they traded AJ Johnson.
AJ Johnson. I hope he's amazing.
So why draft him? Because he was a project.
Yeah.
So why not draft a guy who can contribute or is more likely to contribute? It's just a terrible mismanagement of your picks. And I feel like John Horst, his job was give me a championship with Giannis. And he did everything he could to do it, and it worked.
Yep.
But then the walls have been closing in. And instead of, like, seeing if there's an escape, he just goes in the corner, and he's going to wait till the walls crush him. Mm-hmm. And he's like the boat is sinking. Okay, now I'll try to get this off the boat. But the hole's too big. You're going to sink. 2 analogies for the price of one.
Yep.
I like that.
So he's fucked. He's fucked because the decision, it doesn't, like Chris Middleton for Kuzma. It doesn't matter because you got here because of all the shit you didn't do previously.
I think the process of the Bucks, like I really, you guys know this, like I really enjoy the NBA. I love the mechanics of the NBA. Like I said, like a Mark Williams Dalton Connect rescinded trade is like my bread and butter. I think it's great. So from a process perspective, I watch the way these other teams operate. Obviously not the Hornets. I'm not envious of the way the Hornets operate. But there's a dozen teams where if I was their fan base, I would feel a lot more confident in the direction and the future of the team because the process just makes sense. Like the decision A leads to decision B, leads to decision C, as opposed to decision A happens and then decision B. It's like that Trey Parker, Matt Stone video you guys might have seen online where they're teaching college kids about how to write a narrative, right? And it's like, you want to say that this happened because this happened, not and then this happened. The Bucks are and then this happened with
I know
every
exactly
move.
what you're talking about, actually.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Thank you. That's how I feel about the Bucks. So from a process,
and then, and then we got Serge Ibaka, and that didn't really work. So then we did the, I agree. Yeah.
And then we drafted AJ Johnson, and then we weren't sure if he was good enough to play, and then we traded AJ Johnson, even though if we needed a win now player, we could have drafted. So, I am not 5-year, 3-year window optimistic about the Bucks. I think there's a world in which they win the title this year. I don't think there's a. I mean,
I think the odds of that got worse by trading Middleton.
I think let me ask you this: in the next 5 years, the Bucks' best chance to win a title is this year. Or mm-mm.
If that's true, then I guess that's a hard hit.
Well, if you get a healthy Giannis and a healthy Dame in the playoffs, and you're out in the first round, then I think you got to move Dame.
Well, you do. You
get
do.
One more shot at this.
But the question is, how old is Dame now? 35?
They're just so old.
He'll be 35 this July, so you're trading him when he's 35 with a $60 million contract for an undersized guard who doesn't play defense. I mean, in theory, Dame is the perfect fit for Giannis. Like, they're a great complement. Like,
when are we gonna see that though? Like, that's what I've been told since day one. Are we ever gonna see that?
It hasn't happened to the degree that basketball heads would have assumed it would because of the complementary skills. But like, I don't think you trade. You're not getting the Mikal Bridges package for Dame this offseason. You're not getting the Rudy Gobert package for Dame this offseason. Like, I don't know. So it's like, I would agree, Bart, if they're both healthy and they still lose first round or they get 4-0 in the second round, you blow it up. But to what degree are you really, like, what do you get for 35-year-old Dame? I don't think you get enough to blow it up. You're
well, 35-year-old Jimmy Butler got traded.
I would say Butler, because of his wing, being a wing.
He's a versatile wing defender, obviously. Yeah, those don't just grow on trees.
Yeah. So I think his value is better than what Dame's is at 35. Yeah, because Dame really you kind of need a specific team for Lillard. Like, wings, you can kind of interchange and, you take out Wiggins, you plug in Butler, and it's just sort of just kind of keeps going. But like the Warriors, if you already have a small guard, you can't also have Dame. A lot of teams have small. Now, not everyone has Steph Curry, but like,
I can't believe we have Kyle Kuzma.
Did he airball a free throw last night?
I don't know. I checked out after the third.
He did. I turned it on in the third because the other entertainment option in our household at the time was RuPaul's Drag Race, which is fine. But I much preferred the drag queens to the. I mean, when Dame's not out there, it's a friggin' G League team. It's Bobby Portis and Kevin Porter Jr. and AJ Green and Pat Connaughton. I'm like, what is this? Isn't a legitimate framework to support the actual stars. When Giannis used to miss games, or when Chris used to miss games, it would be a legitimate team with an offense and a defense that could play.
I mean, the starting five of Dame, Andre Jackson, Taurean Prince, Kuzma, and Brook Lopez is like red and green jerseys Bucks.
Well, no, it's not. But
yeah,
no, because Lillard
Dame's Michael Red.
Yep.
Dame is better than any red and green jersey Michael Red.
Brook is Bogut.
That's fair.
Old Bogut. Old and washed Bogut.
Yeah.
Brandon Jennings, Brandon Knight. AJ Green is Delfino.
Carlos Delfino. Who's Ursan?
Ursan? Connaughton.
Bart, did you talk? I'm guessing you did not on Monday night talk about it because it was Super Bowl night, but are you ready to talk about the Mavs and kicking people out for saying fire Nico and like again, speaking of
Picking
stories,
people up for that.
are you fully caught up on what happened?
I saw somebody on the jumbotron get zoomed out of.
Dude, they kicked out anybody with like Fire Nico shirts, Fire Nico banners. If they got on the jumbotron and like mouthed Fire Nico, I saw a video of a guy who was kicked out and he's videoing the whole thing. And like, it is, again, I would spend my whole show on the rescinded Mark Williams trade and like Mavs doing this to their fans. So let me just ask you this: if the Bucks had done Luka for Giannis, the vibe at the next home Bucks game would have been
not like this,
but like, so Bucks fans, okay, the Bucks pull off a surprise Luka for Giannis trade. The majority of Bucks fans, not just the loud ones, but like the majority of average Bucks fan who goes to games or voices their opinion.
The Mavs fans would be excited if they had Giannis.
I know they would. So I'm asking you, Bucks fans would have reacted more, of course there'll be people on both sides. Bucks fans would have reacted negatively with, vocally speaking, would have reacted negatively to a Giannis for Luka trade.
I think we'd be upset, but then I think we'd go to the game and we'd buy the Luka jerseys.
It clearly wouldn't be what the Mavs are going through because it's not the same trade.
I feel like Nico, what's his name? Nico Harrison?
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to have to Stearns himself the way this is going. Like, this trade is so bad and people hate it so much, and I think the team will go in the tank. Like, I think he'll recuse himself. Did I use that word correctly? Like, I'm going to be an advisor. Screw this.
He said, I'm going to be what did he say? I'm going to be in the ground in the next 5 years. They're going to bury me and Jay Kidd in the next 5 years or 10 years. And the most poetic thing, and I'm not like wishing injury on people, like from a narrative perspective, the most poetic thing is that Anthony Davis got hurt in his first Mavericks game, and not just got hurt, but
after having a great game,
which is totally
quite the experience.
Like the thing happened. And so for him to be playing that game and then get hurt, and not like I'll be back in next week, like Giannis coming back after the All-Star break, but like out indefinitely.
Are we so sure Giannis is going to be back that fast? I don't know.
We'll just be back by the 28th when I'm taking my kid.
I think the logic is correct, Grant. Like where you have the All-Star break coming up, you've already been sitting out. Like,
isn't it a soleus strain? It's a calf strain.
They say mild calf strain, but yeah.
Isn't that what they told us before the playoffs last year? He was never even close to playing in the playoffs last year.
But
I'm not trying to fight you, Paul. I'm just,
no,
I don't know. I feel like how long can we watch this team look like dog water and just be like, well, Giannis will be back. Well, obviously they're not supposed to look good. Their best player isn't there.
Sure.
And then when Giannis comes back and it doesn't work, we'll be like, well, all of their guys haven't been healthy and they haven't played together. And then we'll get to and then the playoffs start and they don't have any chemistry.
These are talking pretty negatively about a team that literally won a championship 2 months ago.
I love the talking point. I think the only good news, Grant, and the reason like I think it's okay. So here's the con. You're not building chemistry with Kuzma. Like if you wait too long, and obviously I just put the Bucks title hopes and I connected that with the name Kyle Kuzma. So I appreciate the irony in just the sentence alone. But like they're in 5th place in the East. The team that's on their heels is the Pistons, who are a game and a half back. They would have to go like 8-22 over these final 30. They have 30 games left. They'd have to go 8-22, give or take, to not be in the playoffs, or at least like a bottom seed play in. So if Giannis's thought process about sitting out is, I've missed too many playoff games recently. This cannot happen. Bro, like sit out every regular season game. I don't care. You're right. You need to be healthy for the playoffs, and it's the only chance your team has, obviously. So yes, you're not getting the chemistry with the Kuzma rotations and whatever else, but his health is kind of all that, or at least it's the number one priority.
I'm sure Doc will dial it up. It won't take him long to get the chemistry figured out, rotations and stuff.
Yeah, Doc's on the case. Boys, good to see you both.
Yep, you guys as well.
Paul,
I look forward to listening to the first half so I can hear what you guys talked about.
It was about the Super Bowl and the many lies Grant told while there.
Oh, really? Good.
Strategic.
They were all
lies.
justifiable.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good to see you guys, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for stopping into the Winklerverse.